welcome back! Today we are working on the ABC Build Challenge, and we've skipped around letters. We're actually going to move to Z, mostly because this was the next lot in my rotation, and it is the only lot that I have that even resembles a Z. So yeah, this is my Brotherhood of Zeus. It's called the Zeus Monastery in my game, so technically it starts with a Z. But basically the Brotherhood of Zeus is like a made-up religious order in my game. It started as a place to just send like spare male sims who otherwise they didn't know what else to do with them, so they went and took religious orders. And it wasn't originally called the Brotherhood of Zeus. That actually was kind of a joke with myself that arose because they were chaotic and a lot of them were romance sims, and so you can only imagine what happened. And yeah, so whatever they originally, I've had this neighborhood in one form or another for like 6 years, so whatever original name they had, I don't remember, because I just started being like, why are you all acting like you're brothers of Zeus here? Like, all the chaos, everybody was sleeping out with everybody. It was madness. So anyways, I was trying to base the new build on the old build that I had in the prior neighborhood, but also on the Sims Medieval Peterin Church lot. I didn't have enough space, and I'm gonna demolish everything that you see here, so keep that in mind. I couldn't do what I wanted. I didn't have enough space, and I also just didn't have the right tools. The Sims 2 just building this type of lot is just not really feasible in Sims 2 without a lot of clipping issues and weird shadows, and I also couldn't go any higher on the tower, and the proportions were off. So I end up completely demolishing all of this and starting over. The shape is gonna stay the same, but I wasn't happy with the tower in particular. It was just too big, but at the same time I didn't want to make it much smaller because I needed the lot to be functional. Yeah, so there's a lot of struggles. Yep, so there we go. Decided to rebuild, but make some key changes. Namely, that whole part of the L ends up sticking out. That I was trying to keep the tower still, but I can only do 4 levels, and so the tower ultimately does go away. Which is really aggravating, because I wanted the tower. I liked the way the little tower looked, but there was no way to add the tower in a way that didn't look awful. I tried. Yeah, like it's just a dinky little tower, and if I add walls on top of that, well then, yeah, no. So it's just like, forget it. Forget it. I don't need you, tower. Although I did try one more thing. I forgot. I tried one more option for the tower. I was like, what if I just put it behind the building? But it had to be too low because it had like a rooftop on it, and it just wasn't, it wasn't meant to be. I could have made the building 1 story. I was getting annoyed because I forgot to put floor tiles down. Yeah, I could have made the building 1 story, and then the tower probably would have been okay. You would have been able to see it. But it just, yeah, you could barely see it. And I was just like, no, we're just gonna take away the tower. It's a cool concept, but maybe next time. And while I was building, I was also trying to think of what I was actually gonna do with my Zeus Brotherhood. Because before now I haven't really dabbled too much in like the religion of the game. Like, I haven't made my own or anything. So mostly that was just where I sent my extra male romance sims and also my knowledge male sims that weren't like the head of their household. I was like, alright, well then you don't need to reproduce. I already have so many sims in my neighborhood, let's just plunk you over here. I love those windows, but yeah, no, they were too big. And so yeah, I've been trying to think, and I think I'm going to have their order or brotherhood or whatever be related to the Talos type religion that I've started listing. Basically, I've just been using the Skyrim names for things, and then because I have deco objects for them, because it's just easier for me, but it's not actually like Talos, it's just the name. like, in terms of what they do, because, like, what is their purpose? Are they, like, what type of organization are they? Do they care about healing the sick? Do they care about warriors? Do they, what do they care about? I do like the idea of them being kind of like warrior-y based, but I don't know. For now, I do have, like, it's led by 3 individuals. I used to just have one, which was Aiden Van Alsberg, but the only surviving playable sim from Adiran, because all the others were, like, elders, and so I rolled, and they are actually now deceased. So Aiden and Matea and all that, like, they're gone now. So all I have left is Caligero. Well, Caligero, I just don't see him as a sim who would want to lead, or if he had to lead, he wouldn't want to be the only person leading. So I used the priest robes that I have. I have 3 colors. There's one that's primarily white, one that's primarily black, and one that's primarily red. And I added some townies because I am notorious for forgetting to throw in, like, the no townie regen and everything, and make sure that when the neighborhood's created, there are no townies. Do it all the time. That's also why the Priest Brotherhood started originally too, is I wanted to get rid of some of the townies that I was not going to use and they were just annoying me. So basically Caligero is going to be in charge of the practical running of the monastery. So he will be in charge of the lay brothers, he will be in charge of making sure the crops get planted, the wine's made. Practical matters. And that's what the black robes represent, is like the practical portion of working in the monastery, living in the monastery. The red is I can't remember who's in the red, but the red is going to be the financial. So that sim, which I heard this term originally from Sullivan Sims, but all the other ones are NPCs, essentially. They're non-playable playables. They're technically playable, but, like, they're not going to be added to my spreadsheets or anything, because they're just there to be bodies. So the sim in red is in charge of the financial aspects of the monastery, so not only determining where money is spent or how money is spent, but also, like, charity. What kind of charity work do they do? What do they do with their donations? How do they spend their money? That sim is going to be in charge of that. They're also going to be kind of like the one who's in charge of collecting donations and things, so they're going to be a bit more well-known in terms of, like, the nobility and also the very poor, because they're going to be distributing the funds as well. And then the sim in the all-white robes is going to be in charge of the spiritual. So we have practical, financial, spiritual. Like 3 branches kind of things. And the spiritual one obviously is going to be in charge of any type, if there's services, they'll be in charge of that, they'll be in charge of the prayers. That's kind of that sim's wheelhouse. And then the sims who are in the Peterin robes, those are lay brothers, and lay brothers is actually a term I heard originally from Time Team, which is a fantastic show. And they weren't monks, but they did live in the monastery and they did work there, and they were very religious in general. So lay brothers in my game are going to be, they're not part of the order, but they do work there. They are going to, it's like a lifelong kind of thing, but they're not actually priests. So the lay brothers are kind of the glorified servants a little bit. So yeah, they're mostly going to be, like, making the wine and things like that, because I needed more bodies if we were going to do that. I struggle a lot with this layout because I wanted everybody to be in kind of dormitory style rooms, but I did also want to keep the spirit of my Zeus Brotherhood, which was they were chaotic. So we needed some double beds. Like, it needed to be there. So I was trying really hard to figure out how to set up dormitory style rooms, but also some rooms that were 4 tiles. And so I actually ended up making these rooms a little bit smaller. They all end up being 3 by 3, and they're gonna have bunk beds. That's essentially what they get there. And then the people who get double beds are gonna be Caligero, who is in the black robes, and probably the financial sim in the red robes. So you can see there's 2 4-tile rooms. Those are gonna be their bedrooms. And then the small rooms are like bathrooms kind of thing. this big area with the 2 sets of stairs is going to be a library, kind of living room situation. I'm struggling a lot with window placement as well, because this is the one type of building where it would be appropriate to do completely symmetrical windows all the time, so I was like, I'm absolutely leaning into that because I deserve it. But I also didn't want to put like too many windows. I really like that aisle, like where all the arches are. I really like that I was able to include that. I just think it's an interesting feature. So then I wanted to paint it. I wanted it to match, again, the Sims Medieval building that it was inspired by. So it needed to be stone, the roof was tile. And I did stone completely throughout, even upstairs. This middle part is meant to be like looking over into the chapel sort of thing. So I changed out the wall for fencing. I had to like count like how many fences are there, or how many tiles are there. It worked out really well. There was a perfect amount. But then when you go downstairs, it was bothering me that it wasn't even because of the aisle that I made. So I had to change that. And plenty of staircases because this many Sims trying to get up and down. No. Yeah, this is me realizing I've made kind of an awkward layout here, so it's like, okay, well, let's fix this somehow. And I end up doing an aisle on both sides just because it should be fairly symmetrical. But then I ran into a problem with this particular door. While I liked it, it was cutting through the wall, so I had to find a door that didn't cut through the wall. Because the chapel area should be open at all times. So far, none of my religions have like a full-on church, but it still should be a place they can go if they want to worship. A lot of them tend to worship at home. I'm still developing the religions in my game, but yeah. And then I wanted to do stone downstairs and probably wood upstairs. I ended up actually doing tile upstairs. But it was hard because the Peterin building in the Sims Medieval is very low-key. And so I didn't want to get super fancy, but at the same time, they're a little bit fancy. Most of the Sims in the Zeus Brotherhood were nobles before. Obviously, they all kind of kicked the bucket. Caligero is a noble, though. He's a Drago. I can't quite remember who he's related to, because there's so many Dragos at this point, but he's a Drago. That's all you need to know. And he also has an illegitimate son by Alice Strickland, who is now Alice Cook. So he has a son that it's very hush-hush. It's never like come out that that is his son. He doesn't acknowledge him. Alice convinced, she got married really quickly, and her new husband is actually Julian Cook, because I just ended up adding him to my game, but he's accepted that his name is Mael, M-A-E-L. Molly, maybe, I don't know. Mael sounds weird. But he's accepted that that is his child, even though he has some doubts privately. Like, he's just acknowledged that that's his son, and he's been raised as such. So Caligero is one of those people that's a bit hypocritical. Like, he wanted to change the reputation of the Zeus Brotherhood as, like, you know, they're not just, it's not just a glorified frat house over here. Like, they mean serious business, but at the same time, he is not much better, and I don't know if he recognizes that in himself, or if he just is a little bit arrogant and just thinks he's better than the prior brothers, just because. So he's an interesting sim, and I look forward to kind of playing him. He's not actually going to have, like, a job. I will make everyone but the lay brothers I have a clergy career, so they will work that just so that I don't have to worry about them during the day, like, they can go away. But Caligero, since he's in charge of the practical, will stay during the day. He's not going to be cooking or cleaning, that's going to be the lay brothers, but he will be in charge of assigning the lay brothers work. They're actually going to have a community lot right next door, which is going to be primarily the winery, because they are going to make wine. I just didn't have the room to do it on this lot, so I figured it'll go next door, no biggie. And yeah, he'll be in charge of that, of making sure everything is updated and functional and running the way it needs to, but he's not going to do chores because he is a noble and I think he finds chores beneath him. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I do that tile everywhere. I think I got excited and I decided I hated the stone. Let's find out. I don't honestly remember. Oh, maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't. So yeah, we're just about done, so if you enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like or comment down below. There's going to be a second video where I just do some finishing details. I couldn't do it in one, but I hope you enjoyed hearing about my Zeus Brotherhood and watching me set it up. And yeah, give me a like, comment, subscribe, what have you, and I will see you in the next one.